Hey everybody, how's it going? First, I want to thank everybody for joining me on my latest, most exciting adventure. So I went to Lowe's this morning, picked up this Blackstone 28-inch griddle, 2-burner. It was on sale for $199. It's usually $250. I thought that was a pretty good deal. And it should be more than big enough for my wife Pamela and me, and maybe an occasional visiting couple or two. So anyways, I'm pretty excited about this, so let's say we get started. Okay, before we get started, I just wanted to do a quick introduction. So my name's R. I'm an extremely old man who retired down here to Florida 8 or 9 years ago from Colorado. And the smoking in my name refers to these, my all-time favorite vice. And I promise you'll never see me drop an ash. Okay, now let's get started. Okay, here we go. All right, let's see here. If I can do this without cutting myself. All right. Okay. So we got your directions. Might need those. Those can come in handy. Okay. Here we got some hardware. Oh, it's nice. There's instead of bolts and nuts and washers, they've got these bolts with hand knobs on the end. At least a lot of them are like that. All right. That should be a lot easier. Now, what do we got in here? Okay, things like handles, more handles. Some of these aluminum trays, I wasn't sure if they'd even have one with it, so I actually bought a pack of them, but they do have one. And attachments for the tank, things like that. More handles, wheels. You know, this thing has 2 wheels. You know, you pick it up and roll it on 2. Okay. Set this stuff aside. Now, and I'll tell you, this thing is heavy. The whole thing has to be over 100 pounds. I couldn't get close to lifting it in the car or out of the car. You're going to need some help. Okay. Looks like the first thing that wants to come out. Oh, that's the main body of it. Just set that there. Okay. Now, what do we got next? Okay, that's the cover. Not a hood, this one just has the cover. I figure with the hood for, you know, melting things, well, you just use those little covers. They're going to be good enough for whatever I'm going to be melting. Okay, that's pretty light. Now, good packing, everything's really tight. A lot of styrofoam and cardboard. There's one of the side shelves. Here's the other side shelf. And last but not least, the griddle itself. Whoa. That's where most of the weight is, right here. Okay, I'm just going to lay this on all this styrofoam here. Get this box out of the way. All right. Okay. Okay, everything's unpacked. Now let's get started with the assembly. Okay. One nice thing is you only need one tool. That's a Phillips head screwdriver. And
What are you doing? Pretending you can read again?
yeah, do you think anybody's going to fall for it?
I doubt it.
You are too much. Okay. The first step is pulling up those legs and attaching the two wheels. So let's do that first. Okay, so the first step is pulling all four legs up and putting the wheels on two of them. Okay, that just lifts straight up. And so does this one. This is obviously the one the wheel goes on. It's the only one with the hole and a hole for the bolt. And using these nice little thumb screws, really nice, these things. And it's obviously the wheels are symmetrical, so either one can, and they only can go in one way. Okay. And obviously, since it's a hand tightening knob, you only get it as tight as you can go with your fingers. Other wheel, same thing, only one way to go in. Okay, first step complete. Okay, next step is putting that center shelf on, which is not so much a shelf as it is a support for the whole unit, you know, keep the legs sturdy. And okay, this wants to fall, so I'm going to let it lay down. Okay, next step is that center shelf, which they call a stabilizing shelf, because it's more to support the whole unit and the four legs. Okay, and they say to start on the right legs. That's the ones without the wheels. So, and you're using the longer one for that side and the shorter version of this for the other side. Because this long one has to go through the whole width of that bar. It's the same width as this. Okay, let's see if this fits up in there okay. Make sure that hole is lined up. Okay, that lined up pretty good. I won't go too tight with it now. I'm going to need some flexibility over here. Now, this one, this is the bracket for the gas tank, and this screws in with this shorter thumb bolt. Okay, and this goes from the bottom up. Make sure that's lined up. First I'm just making sure it's lined up. Okay. Let's get this bracket. That lip on the bracket is actually on the top side, but bottom side since we're still upside down. There we go. And same thing, you just get these hand tight. I'll retighten this one. Okay, that looks pretty sturdy. Okay, that's it for that one. I think next on the list is flip it over and probably put this hook for the tank on there. We'll see. Okay, yeah, the next step is flipping it over upright. Let's see. I want to make sure this doesn't get flopping around. Okay. Now, I'm going to be working on that other end. This hook gets put in with the shear pin and a cotter pin. There's the bracket it goes into. And obviously it goes this way since you're hooking up like that. Oh yeah. Just push the shear pin through. Snap the cotter pin in, and it flips up and down for whatever reason. So yeah, the tank hooks on there and sits against this brace. Okay, I think the next step, well, I know the next step was to put the control knobs on. Got your two control knobs. They say put them on in the off position, which is this orange thing straight up. Okay, that just slipped right in, and it still has a spring load to it, probably for when you're starting it. Same with that one, just pushed right on. Okay, getting close here. Next step, I believe, is putting on these side shelves. Okay, now they talk about loosening these top two screws. I can see on this one, these two are already loosened and pulled away about 1/8 of an inch. Over here, one of them is and one isn't, so I'll have to loosen that one. So, and these look symmetrical, like they'd work on either side. And you can see how it's got the, push it in on that and slide it up, and then you add one of the other screws. Let's see. Yep, see, just push it in and slide it down. Then you use two of these, only 4 screws that they give you. Screw that in. And also tighten the ones that they had loosened for me. Okay, good on that side. Hi, honey.
Hi, babe.
Okay, now tighten the one that they had loosened. Okay, that's good on that side. Get this one and do the other side. So yeah, you just do the same thing on the other side. It's just a waste of time to show it. Okay, looking good so far. Let's see what's next. Okay, the next step is actually putting the griddle on. And they say first put the grease tray dripper on. That just hangs in this slot here. And they say use 2 people, but I think I can handle it. Okay, if you notice there's 4 pins under there. You line the front one up because it's the one that will slide in. Okay, now you push it back along that slider, and then the back pin drops in. Okay, griddle is on. Okay, the next step is putting the handles onto the cover, and these are the hooks that go underneath to hook it on when it's not in use. Okay, doing this part was so frustrating and downright embarrassing. I mean, me fumbling around with these tiny little screws, dropping them 3 or 4 times. I couldn't bear to watch it, let alone show it. But you can see it's just your simple, basic screwing a couple handles on. Feel good? Okay. That should do. So, goes on like that, sits on those hooks when it's in use. Okay, let's see what's next. Well, actually, it's pretty much finished putting together. The only thing left to do is to get the tank connected and going. And I got to tell you a little story about these propane tanks. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, here's my silly little propane story. You know, I've been grilling over charcoal pretty much my whole life, and I've been smoking meats with a stick burner, you know, using wood for the last 20 years or so. But I've never really dealt with any of these propane tanks. You know, those little, what are they, 1-pound canisters that, you know, used for space heaters or whatever. I've used those, but these things are a little bit scary to me. Well, the only experience I have with them is out in Colorado. Every year they used to have what they called a 50 cal shoot, you know, 50 caliber. And it was up in the mountains, you know, they'd get all this ranch land, and they, you know, they'd have every gun imaginable, fully auto, you know, all the way up to, you know, like anti-aircraft guns and full auto 50 caliber, and every machine gun you could ever imagine. Tommy guns, AK-47s, Uzis, my favorite, BAR, that's Browning automatic rifle. But, you know, you go there and shoot whatever you wanted. And anyways, they would set up tanks like this out there, and they'd set up those huge, you know, multi-100-gallon ones out there. And at night, they would shoot those with the 50 cals. You know, those guys had priority to be able to be the ones to shoot them. And those things would blow up into a ball of flame as big as a house. So that's what I know these things of, is they'll explode on you, at least if you shoot them. Who knows what it takes to set them off. So all I'm getting at is I'm a little bit leery dealing with it, but hey, let's have some fun. If we go, we go. Okay, this is the final step, getting this tank put on. Should be no problem. So first you just do the connection. Make sure everything's lined up really straight so the threads don't cross. Okay, screw it all the way on. And there's a hook here to hang this lip up onto, and it just rests against that bracket. And that's it. Job finished. So there's the finished product with the sunshine on it so you can see it a lot better. And like I said, tomorrow we'll season it up and start to cook, and because that's what it's really all about. And like I said, I'm hungry. So anyways, I thought it was a pretty easy assembly. I think I could do it in 15 minutes if I was to do it again. You know, it's truly basic and simple. The only thing that gave me a hard time were these handles on the cover. They got such tiny little screws, and you know, dealing with one, you have to do it both sides at the same time. That was getting frustrating. And with this arthritis, you know, there's not much I can do about it. But anyways, it was a lot of fun, and like I said, I'm really looking forward to getting it seasoned up tomorrow. And thanks for being here, and hopefully see you again.